Otherwise, the borough does not have any objection to the continuance request scheduled for this evening.
First, I'd like to welcome everybody, and I'd like to call the East Allen Township Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, December 4th to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I saw that, Joe.
I got you.
I saw that.
I wish.
You wanted to notice the flag.
What do you need, buddy? Pen?
All right.
Tissues.
All right.
There you go.
First item on the agenda, roll call, please.
Mr. Daniel?
Here.
Mr. Chamberlain?
Here.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Mr. Hemming?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here. Next item on the agenda is public comment, limited to 3 minutes on individual agenda items only. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Chuck Waldhauser, 6829 Spruce Lane, Bath. Actually, I just need clarification. Will we be allowed to ask questions at the end of each item or not? Just, is this our only opportunity?
We typically will entertain questions or concerns as we move along through the process.
I expect some of my questions would be answered by the presentation, so I just assume wait till after the presentation.
Sure.
Thank you.
And if I can add, there is time at the end of the meeting for general questions, including on the topics.
Right.
If you don't ask right after.
Right. All right, anybody else? Okay, moving on. Approval of the minutes from the November 6th meeting, Planning Commission meeting. Any questions or comments, gentlemen?
None here. Excuse me.
I move the minutes be approved.
A motion on the floor by Norm,
I'll second that.
second by Tom. Roll call, please.
Mr. Daniel?
Aye.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Chamberlain?
Abstain, I was not at the meeting.
Mr. Hemming?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, let the record reflect the motion passed 4 votes to none with 1 abstention. All right, moving on to the next item, business before the Planning Commission. The first item on the agenda, Seipel Samuels, Jaeger Hopper Minor Subdivision, Saldo 2025-001. Do we have a microphone? Either way, but we should have one there.
Thank you. Jonathan Shope, surveyor for the project, Cycle subdivision. Jill, do we want to go through comments one by one, or how do you want to do it?
I don't know if we have to go through comments, unless the planning commission has any questions, maybe just the waiver request.
Okay.
Right. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant, surveyor,
No.
engineer? I don't either. So we can go through the waiver letter dated 9/12, item by item, and then either approve, recommend, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and I think we've kind of discussed these already at previous meetings, but you never took official action on any of them.
Yes, we have,
Okay.
actually. You are correct.
Assuming we're not doing this one.
No, that's the one that was changed when I commented that it wasn't up to date with all the deferrals. All right, item number 1, are there any questions or comments on this particular waiver request? And I would think that we should make a recommendation on each individual waiver, Joe, or on them in total?
I would do them individually. I know it takes time, but I would do them individually.
Very good. All right.
I'm okay with number 1,
Are you making a motion to recommend?
as long as I see some other head nods. I move that we waive, grant the waiver for section 212, 19A3, 19C1, and 19D1 for the Seipel Samuels Jägerhofer
for preliminary slash final plan submission.
For preliminary final plan submission, yes, combined.
Thank you, Joe.
I'll second.
Have a motion on the floor by Tom, second by Marty. Roll call, please.
Mr. Daniel?
Aye.
Mr. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Hemming?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, let the record reflect the motion passed, 5 votes to none. All right, item number 2.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval.
If you just want to go through the general summary of it, like.
Yeah.
The modification to show no
Modification
proposed-
request for showing a proposed dwelling, no new construction proposed at this time.
I'll second.
Have a motion on the floor by Marty, second by Tom. Roll call, please.
Mr. Daniel?
Aye.
Mr. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Hemming?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, let the record reflect the motion passed, 5 votes to none. Item number 3.
I'll move that we grant the waiver using a 3.11 depth to width ratio.
Very good.
I'll second.
Have a motion on the floor by Tom, second by Art. Roll call, please.
Mr. Daniel?
Aye.
Mr. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Hemming?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, let the record reflect the motion passed, 5 votes to none. Item number 4.
I move we recommend approval for the waiver request related to sidelines of lots being shallow butt and be at right angles to straight streets.
We have a motion by Marty,
I'll second.
have a second by Art. Roll call, please.
Mr. Daniel?
Aye.
Mr. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Hemming?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, let the record reflect the motion passed, 5 votes to none.
I have no problems if you want to take 5 through 9. Those are typical deferrals that you grant. If you'd like to take them collectively, you can, if there's not an issue with any of the planning commission members. I mean, if anybody doesn't feel good about all of them, then we can do them individually.
5 through 8, you mean?
5 through 8, yes.
Very
Okay, I'll
good.
make a motion that we defer curbs and gutters and/or drainage swales, sidewalks or pathways, streetlights, and shade trees until new construction is proposed.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Tom, second by Norm. Roll call, please.
Mr. Daniel?
Aye.
Mr. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Hemming?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, let the record reflect the motion passed, 5 votes to none.
I like that.
Well, we've had a lot of, we've talked to you a few times.
Yeah. I would just have a few questions on for Jill, unless you guys have anything else about the plan. We spoke on the phone a few weeks ago about a few things, and I think you were gonna ask the attorney for the township about the right-of-way being dedicated or not dedicated.
I thought we resolved that on the phone.
Well, your question was, the property line goes down the center line of the road. So if the property line goes down the center line of the road, they would have to dedicate, this would be on Green Meadow Road, Lot 1, dedicate just to 16 and a half feet because of the ag easement. Is that where we left it?
What I had said, it's up to you how you wanna handle it. Regardless, the lot area would be to the legal right of way. Issue is they're showing the property line to the center line of the road. Green Meadow is a township road. I think the
The ag
Ag
easement goes to the
easement
right of
goes
way.
to the
60
legal.
Yeah, to the legal, yep.
So they're gonna put a note on the plan that they cannot offer the ultimate right of way for dedication.
That's acceptable.
But do we still need, okay, I remember, do we still need them to dedicate the legal right of way
Yes.
from the center line?
From center line to
Yes.
legal, okay.
Okay, sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, that's fine. It was that easy. And then the only other question I had, Jill, was the site, comment 17. Are you just talking about the other ends of the triangles having dimensions on them?
Yeah, just fully dimension your,
The triangle?
yeah,
Okay.
the site triangle, yep.
Okay. That's all I have. So then all we have left then is just doing a dedication map for Green Meadow Drive on Lot 1 and the site triangle. So we would be asking for conditional approval.
Good. So, do we have a motion to provide conditional approval, provided they do the site triangles?
I would say just base it off of Jill's letter.
Subject to the November 4th,
Fourth,
2025 Hanover Engineering letter.
Is that fair enough?
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor by Art,
A second.
have a second by Tom. Roll call, please.
Mr. Daniel?
Aye.
Mr. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Hemming?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, let the record reflect the motion passed, 5 votes to none.
Thank you.
There you go, thank you very much.
Jill, that resubmittal to the township or just an email to you?
You can just send it to me.
Okay.
All right, so, yeah, we'll work out as far as when you're on the agenda for the Board of Supervisors.
Whenever we send it to you, if someone can just let us know.
Yeah, but if you just send that documents, then we'll review it, and once
Hard work.
approval, we'll send it.
What's
over.
that?
Hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is, yeah, exactly. All right. All right, moving on, the next item on the agenda. That's why.
There you go.
All right, item B is a waiver request from Delco Capital LLC, 6583 Rook Road.
How you doing?
Very good, yourself?
Pretty good. My name's Dave Wallace Savage. I was at the last planning commission meeting. Thanks. Our client, was not available last month, but they are here today, so they can answer any questions the board has. At the last meeting, if you remember, a lot of the questions regarding zoning, parking, operations, things like that. I noticed on the agenda, I did submit the zoning search and some information. I'm not sure if your zoning officer did any background search as well or gave you any information. I provided her some information. I don't see it hyperlinked to, so I don't know if you got it in your packet, the information that I did provide, that if I should go through it, so you guys are aware of what I found when I looked.
In general, what was the nature of the information?
Well, most of it is zoning. I know Jill was talking about the zoning, the use, previous approvals and things like that.
Documentation of previous use.
What's that?
Documentation?
Yeah, so you want to just go through that? You guys didn't get any of that information?
No.
Okay, fair enough. So, one of the first times I looked at, I guess, I just, to clear up the nature of what we're proposing, some of the townships I used to work in, and some of them specifically add additions to the land development language. They update the MPC to put it in their definition. This is going to be an addition. I don't know if that matters in that it's not a building as per the definition of land development in your ordinance.
It's an improvement under the MPC, so in my opinion, it would be
We
considered
do
one, but
grant an exemption for additions up to a certain amount of square footage. It's either 2,500 or 3,000 square feet. Anything beyond that would warrant then land development, from that
Okay.
standpoint.
yeah.
No, like I said, I previously worked for townships and we presented in many townships, and
Yeah.
some of them, if they don't specifically add that to their language, they let you do an addition without formal land development.
I understand.
So that was our first question, what I found in the zoning. The next thing is, the plan, in October 17th of 1997, there was a land development plan for this property. At that time, it was a proposed two-story building, and the use at that time on the plan was labeled as warehouse, and there's a land development, agreement in place that called it warehouse at that time, which was the use. I know that was a question, what the use was. So previously it was called a warehouse. It had a parking tabulation, and on that plan, it also had a future expansion in the location of where they're proposing the new addition. So as far as just, the plan previously had future expansion of 8,000 square feet. The new building will be addition of 7,200 square feet. So it was originally planned to do what they're doing now. It's just, 20-some years later that they're expanding the building. So that was the use at the time. The next question, I believe, was the operations going on there now. In I forget the date, I have a zoning permit, in 2021, the current owners were approached by a different company, and the township approved the zoning change of use for a portion of their building. At that time, the change of use was to a permitted use of, the wording of it's called motor freight terminal office. So at that time, it was a change of use. They came in, and that is who currently is Blue Logistics, who is doing the Amazon operations.
Said motor freight terminal office.
That's the way you guys phrased it, I believe, yes. So that's what Amazon got a change of use for to do in 2021, and that is the current use that is parking all the vans in the location of this building. So I know there was concern about the noise and the amount of traffic. As we mentioned before, this new building will go in the location where all those vans are parked. They will no longer be on site and be off the site, so that will clean up that additional traffic and noise that there was concern about. So that was that. So this new use will basically get rid of this use that's currently being there. What was the other thing? Another thing was trees.
But just, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yep.
One quick question. Looking at the proposed use letter that you submitted, it seems to contradict what you just said.
About the addition?
Well, no,
Oh, sorry.
you said or it was said in the letter that, the proposed building will limit the number of vans that Blue Line will be able to park. And that they'll need to find a new location for most of their vans. You seem to indicate that they will not be parking vans.
Correct, yeah, we wrote that in October, which is fine. The owners are here, they can
Yeah,
touch on that.
which is-
I'll let them touch on that now, or?
Well, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
are they still gonna operate there, or they're not gonna
They won't be able to
operate?
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, we wrote that in October, he wasn't here the last meeting. I don't believe you were here either, sir.
I was not at the last
So,
meeting.
so, yes, I was not as sure.
So that business is moving out of the building?
They would, if we got this approved, we would have to they wouldn't be able to operate.
Well, I mean, I don't know that it's not gonna be approved, it's whether you have to do saldo
Right.
or not, right?
Yeah.
So, but in any case, it gets approved, they're going to be moving out of the building.
They have to, yeah.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up. Sorry to interrupt.
No, hey, no problem. And, I think the last thing, I do remember was the tree discussion. We did a site visit with the property owners. It appears the pine trees along the back of the property are still there. All the trees still are located on their property, and the buffer seems adequate at the time. Like I mentioned before, we pulled the land development improvement agreement. Actual species and trees, a type of buffer were not in there, so it's not, we could say, they're not there anymore, or they didn't plant this. And I think you could ask them, they will plant anything that is needed. If more trees are needed, if there's a gap in some location that somebody has an issue with. And the only operations that they know of cutting trees was PP&L has some utility easements, and they come and trim at certain times. That's the only tree clearing they know since they own the building.
What you're saying is that the buffer's still there?
Correct, yeah, I mean, and like I said, when I sent the stuff to Maggie, there was a couple pictures showing the pine, big, like I said, white pines probably, big huge pines, and then there was some like weird, we don't know what it is, some kind of planting, they can plant something better, but I mean, there is enough coverage that most of it is evergreen, so it's still, in the winter, it's still being a buffer area. With that, I believe, if I remember, those were the questions you guys had at that time. And if you would like, Blaze Derico, the owner, could speak on what they do there, their operations, how many vehicles they're gonna have there, how they operate with trucks. Because right now, there's a lot of vans moving, and he could tell you what he's forecast for what delivers and what they ship out, if you guys want to hear about that.
If I may, my initial thoughts are, you mentioned a 1997 approval.
Yeah,
And
we
that what you're
understand.
doing is consistent with what was
Oh, yeah.
approved in 1997. And if that's the case, I'm not so sure we have to go through Saldo But you have to go through all the other permits.
Yeah,
Well, the problem, Tom, just if I could interject, is that the MPC only protects you for a period of 5 years after that plan is approved, and any newly enacted ordinances that apply after that 5-year period would be applicable if they never drew a permit to build the addition at that time. So again, you have the right to waive that,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah,
I'm
but
not
you-
saying you should or you should not. I just want us to be aware that the MPC does indicate that after a period of 5 years, any newly enacted ordinances would apply. So if we have new stormwater ordinances, new saldo ordinance, et cetera, that would apply to this project, you would either have to waive those or they would have to go through that process.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're aware of that, and we, like Joe spoke last week, we
Okay,
know- we
yeah,
know-
I was
we
not
know
here at the last
by the
meeting.
letter of the law, of your ordinance, you can treat it as land development, but that's why we're here for a waiver.
I got you.
Obviously.
I understand.
And the fact that, just to the point is, we wanted to see what the parking was, what was there, and we're like, oh my God, this building was already there, so it's kinda like, almost planned.
Right.
And land developed for the property, same entrance, same storm, same sewer, water, lights, it's not like we're starting over.
No.
So we agree, more information on the site plan, zoning, if there's new stormwater ordinances to upgrade things. We don't disagree, we'll have to do that, but to go through the land development, we can still do that with a site plan or a storm review or however else you guys do it, really.
I mean, there-
I mean,
there's
my
a,
primary,
go ahead.
my primary concern, it's less a concern and more of a clarification, is in the previous letter, and maybe it's changed since then, it was said that the area that'll be covered by the addition is currently gravel. Therefore, there wouldn't be any increase in impervious space, is how I'm reading it. Is gravel impervious?
Yes.
Okay.
Considered impervious.
It's considered impervious.
It's considered impervious, but you have absorption through it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean-
impervious unless they can prove that it infiltrates. So that's the
Right.
current definition, if it
And-
infiltrates, but.
Yeah, so, and really, that concern, I have a couple other ones just related to, the reason we do the land development process is to make sure that things like that are accounted for and the current regulations are met and all that kind of stuff. You cleared it up for me, so it can be considered pervious if it's impervious.
Can you just, what is your proposed use?
Or what is the current use of the property, besides
Or
the Amazon
current
van?
first, and
Yeah,
then
so
proposed.
current use for our company is storage, we manufacture medical devices, orthopedic braces, back braces, knee braces, overseas. We bring them in and then we distribute them throughout the country.
Is this your only location?
This is we have a location in Texas.
Okay, so then, do you have any employees here? Or is
Yes,
it-
we
so-
only have 6 that work in that building.
And what
We
are
have
they,
sales reps throughout the country.
and then what do the 6 do? Are they just handling the goods, or it's your office?
There's 3, 4 that work in the warehouse. One does a
Okay.
hybrid, like he's processing orders. The others are, yes, out in the warehouse packing boxes, doing all that stuff. And then one's like marketing,
Okay.
and then me and Blaze.
So you're not manufacturing, assembling
Everything comes in.
Complete
Finished good.
finished
Yeah,
goods?
Finished goods.
Goes on a shelf?
Yep, it's on pallet racks. We take off a case. Sometimes we ship the case. Sometimes you have to break them up if someone order 2. We get a UPS, FedEx delivery. They come in every morning, drop
Right.
small packs
Right.
off. They come pick it up at the end of the day, so there's those 4 trucks. Other than that, maybe every 2 weeks, we get like a big container from all our stuff from overseas that gets dropped off.
So do you have like a loading dock and a forklift that
Yes,
you use?
we
and-
have a loading dock. We don't use a forklift.
Okay,
Pallet jack. Just, pallet jack.
Okay.
Pallets around.
okay.
So all their deliveries are through,
Yeah,
right? You don't warehouse and have your own trucks running the
Yeah,
equipment,
no,
you just use the regular mail.
Correct.
yeah, it's real, I mean, I guess the concern or the thing that we're looking at, is this really a warehouse? Or is this some other use that storage is the accessory use to? And that's where I think we just need clarification on what you're doing, so how we can handle that and look at the use, because if you call it a warehouse, it's gonna require more additional things that you may not be doing, but the terminology is wrong for warehouse.
And that's, I don't know what use, that's why when I
Yeah.
said motor freight, they're not doing that. They're
No,
not doing
I
what
don't think
Amazon's doing.
it's, no, I don't,
So there's nothing really that jumped out that
Well,
it's
most of it-
not a
most of it
warehouse,
is
it's
office
just
with accessories.
a manufacturing store, yeah.
What-
I understand what you mean,
so,
Brad.
with the addition that you're proposing is basically just large, it's gonna match the same height of the building, and it's just gonna be large storage space. So there's no
Bring that space
offices
down to
or
warehouse.
anything, are you adding employees at all?
No, I mean, we might have to add one, I mean, keep growing.
Because
One,
the-
two, but not more.
Looking at our, and we went through this prior, we were kind of trying to review, our parking changes depending on the use. So if it's an office, it goes by number of employees, if it's a warehouse, it goes by square footage. So there's a whole bunch of different, just zoning aspects that kick in, that really, this one is a hard one to dissect of what it actually is. If it was a newer plan, a newer building, that we could make sure it conformed to all the requirements.
Yeah, in the plan I sent to Maggie, we did do, a parking tabulation as per your current ordinance,
Okay.
calling
Did
it a
Maggie do a
warehouse.
determination?
And your definition of warehouse parking is, you know, employees on our largest shift. So you can give them 8 people, 6 people, that
Mhm.
covers them. And then we broke down the occupied space, they have a gym, they got 3 people there, they got a gym, they got like, what they're using for the office space, so we didn't take all the corridors and the bathrooms, we took office space.
So is
And
the
put it
gym
occupied
part of
space.
the business, or is it
Yeah,
a
it's just
separate?
for,
No, just for
to
use.
work
No,
out.
yeah,
It's
no,
in
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's
We
basically.
put it in during COVID, 'cause everything shut
I
down.
remember having this conversation in 2021 about it, and I thought it was part of whatever you were doing, but it wasn't a business aspect,
Yeah,
because it
it's
came
for
up
us
then.
and employees.
So, so, in theory, there'll be 6 employees there,
Yes.
and with occupied space, because they're office
Mhm.
buildings, that adds 31 spaces, which they don't even have those 31 spaces. However, they still are providing 42 and 2 handicap. So they have adequate in case this Blue Logistics, they sell it to somebody else and they have 12, I don't know, what are office people doing something different, not shipping, you know what I mean?
Okay.
If they rent it or lease it to somebody else, yeah.
Mhm.
So for office space and the amount of warehouse people they have, the parking is current with your, ordinance.
Understand.
So if you're eliminating the Amazon, they operate on the second floor?
Yeah, they have office
They
up
could have
there, where they have like a
I mean, unless they're
driver that
complaining
kind
that
of,
that's the current
you
use and it's
know
been
anything
that
about
way and
the
his
business, they like
grandfather.
track them
That
and
then it's a-
Sure.
follow their
before
deliveries
he
and
uses
things
the
like
warehouse,
that, so
but it
there's
is
like
this
3 people that work up there during the day.
Is the whole second floor, does the whole building have a second floor?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't
Or
make,
No, no,
you
no,
for
no.
the
doesn't
new
make
part?
non.
No,
This
no,
being-
no, no.
Probably have to go through
The existing building?
Yeah, the building's 8,000, 4,000 is office with, first and second floor.
Okay.
And the other 4,000 is our.
The warehouse is 2 stories.
When you bought the building, was it set up for warehousing, or was it more of an office
It was
building
where, they had 4,000 as warehouse.
on the lower?
Yeah, they
and
just
the
had it
off-
broken up, cause there was like Thermo Fisher and someone else,
Yeah.
they had like a wall in it that we had to knock down.
Okay.
And I was thinking if they converted the second floor into more warehouse space, you know, and didn't have that there and just ran the office from the first floor half or whatever, you know, you buy yourself.
I think it's
additional
just
space.
the dimensions of
Yeah.
the proposed and reviewing it for parking,
Right.
stormwater, the
Yeah, I
general
mean, I think the
issues
issue
that-
for the planning commission is whether, you know, what's the level of review
Right.
based on what you're hearing that you believe the plan should go through?
Right.
Do you believe the level of review is a site plan review? Do you believe the level of review is consistent with the land development plan? So that's, I think, what the issue is here, based on some of the information that you're receiving from the applicant tonight that you didn't have last month. Can I just clarify something? Did you say that the office space is 4,000 square feet?
Yeah.
All right. And, you know, my issue is, and I'm not here to talk about the use, because if the use is technically a warehouse, which frankly, I don't think it meets that definition in our ordinance. That's a conditional use, which would require, you know, additional approvals that are associated with this. If this primary use is an office, and that is, that's a business office that sells, you know, widgets or whatever it may be, and the storage area is accessory to that, that's completely different than a warehouse. But again, I don't think we're here, I think we're here because you're asking for relief from the land development process. I don't know how important tonight it is to determine what the use is, but certainly the zoning officer, if she has not made a determination, should make a determination as to what the use is. Have you spoken to Maggie about that?
Well, I tried to call when she was sick, she just came back today, and I got an email late in the day, but, you know, just because the original thing said warehouse, and everybody's calling it warehouse, that's why it was called that. But I'm looking at a term here, I don't know if this, it says light assembly of pre-manufactured components.
But they're not assembling, they're not doing any assembling on site.
Put them together, man.
What's on our current CI?
It's
Well, I
called
think
warehouse, that's what I'm saying.
Probably a warehouse, which you're good no matter what, with what you currently have. The problem is that when you do an expansion, and now it's a permitted use by condition, now because of the expansion, you have to go through a conditional use hearing in front of both the planning commission and the board of supervisors. If you're not that, and you're in a permitted use in that zoning district, which if an office with accessory storage is a permitted use, you wouldn't have to do that for an expansion. The problem is that anytime somebody comes in for an expansion of a particular use, we have to review that again to see what now the new ordinance requires. And that requires a conditional use approval, and I'm not so sure you want to go through that entire process because you're here trying to avoid the land development
Yeah,
process.
yeah, no, well, we know we gotta go to supervisors for approval, but
Yeah.
yeah, if it's just, you know, the nature of it is the site plan and some stormwater, you know, and some, you know,
Sounds like
buffers or
me
any kind of
that
conditions
this
with
is
buffers
a
or landscaping.
distribution center,
Correct, yeah.
okay? That's exactly what it is. They bring product in, they ship product out. That's a distribution center. So what's our definition of that?
Well, so let's not get into the use. I mean, use was basically just to guide
Right.
Yeah.
the intensity of what's gonna occur here, especially with an expansion, and whether it warrants land development review for the criteria of the current ordinances.
Yes,
Or if you wanted to waive it and allow a site plan, or you could waive it altogether and require neither. I would not
Well, we
recommend
need to do
that.
something, because it's obviously been a bit of time since the last set of plans were
correct,
done.
we could've
Right.
put a
And
plan together, yeah.
Let's
yeah.
face it, just down the road from you, I can tell you right now, I drove in there one day and somebody was with a Bobcat ripping out gravel parking area. I came by today when I went by to look at your facility, just to get boots on the ground, and that same location where they were ripping out the gravel parking lot now asphalted, and it's probably 50 feet by or 100 feet by 100 feet. Guarantee you, they probably didn't come in for permits for it, so. The point is, people change their properties, do things to them, and you don't always know, they don't always keep track of them, and part of this process is for us to gain that knowledge going forward, so that we know what we have in case there's other issues or something comes up. That's part of the process. All right,
So if it's a site plan, it doesn't come back here.
you look,
Well, I have a concern.
speak up.
I mean, we're talking of a fairly large building, taking up a lot of square footage. And grant you it's a gravel, quote-unquote, impervious. Jill, what if that turned out to be not an impervious, but it was actually filtering water? Now we have more runoff.
Generate more runoff that we would have to look at as far as increase in stormwater.
Yeah,
So, but that would have to be,
yeah, I mean,
Addressed.
it's things we do every day. Every
Yeah.
building we do, we put dry wells in, we put basins in.
That would have
That's
to
what we
be-
do.
But that would have to be handled outside the land development process if we don't go through the land development
No, I
process.
mean,
Does that
So-
create an issue?
not saying every township's different, but yeah, every town is kind of like, we would work with the township engineer and the zoning officer with stormwater review, you know.
So-
It happens,
the one thing I don't
happens
wanna
every
have
day, yeah.
is that gentleman come back talking about the buffer, saying now his backyard's flooded.
Oh, yeah,
For
yeah.
for
We don't
stormwater,
want
Yeah, we could, yeah.
for stormwater management, we do have a standalone stormwater that they have to handle.
Right.
That is a little different than the requirements of Saldo, and how it's dealing with it, and it's probably not as,
Stringent.
well, it's stringent, but I think we're really looking at water quality more than actually,
It would be the same review, whether we're reviewing it for like through the land development process, or we're reviewing it as a site plan review, or we're reviewing it as a standalone stormwater ordinance, I mean, stormwater review. It's still the same requirements and the.
What land development does is it puts them all together, instead of individually bifurcating out what they are.
Excuse me,
The tough thing when you're dealing with a developed land like this, you know, how you gentlemen, we don't wanna be coming here and getting 15 waivers of stuff that's already not there, you know, like the curbing, the side, you know what I mean, it's already developed. The property's already developed to a point that we'd be just going back and forth, getting waivers and dotting i's, crossing t's, and we'd end up with the same building and the stormwater that we could do with Joe and the site plan, you know what I mean?
did I hear you, that there would be excess parking? If there would be parking in excess of the requirements?
Oh, yeah.
How much excess?
Well, by the amount of people that work there or amount by ordinance? If this building was built, they'd have 8 people in that whole building and there's 42 spots. But if you call the office spaces, the occupied spaces, that adds 31 spots that they really don't need that because they only have 6 people, you know what I mean? But it's available if they do lease it to somebody, yes.
The reason I bring it up is if there is stormwater concerns.
Oh, yeah, we could get rid of some grass, oh,
You could rip
yeah,
up,
absolutely, yeah.
put in some,
We're just,
native grasses.
we're just
and whatnot.
working with the,
Not turf grass, native grasses.
okay, yeah.
I mean, you're still gonna have an office space upstairs, you're still gonna
Yeah,
have
yeah.
some parking that you
We-
could
we-
rent out or lease out
yeah.
for another business or
Yeah,
something.
you wanna make sure you don't rip it up and put it back in and that, yeah. But I mean, just, if you want me
Do
to
we need a
look real
recorded
quick.
plan? Do we want this plan to be recorded? That's the difference.
Shoot.
So Joe, the question becomes, set aside whether we waive or don't waive saldo right now. If we,
Well, you're not waiving saldo. What you're doing is you're looking at 2 different procedures that the plan would go through. Now, just real quick.
Yeah.
If you look at section 250-35 of our ordinance, and I know you don't have it in front of you, it talks about the scope and the procedure for a site plan review, and there are 18 requirements that the site plan must contain. So the question again is really the level of review that the plan goes through, right? The plan as a site plan is still gonna go through a fair amount of review. It'll never go, from my understanding, it never goes to the Board of Supervisors. So it's an application through the zoning officer submits copies to the planning commission does its review and makes its recommendation. I'm assuming it's the zoning officer who makes a determination as to whether or not the site plan contains sufficient information that's required by the code, by the ordinance, to be submitted with the site plan. So, you know, that's a different procedure than coming to you making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, and have them taking a look at it, if it's a land development, and then making a determination.
Right. I guess what I was trying to get to was, so technically we don't have a use defined, right? For this building. So if we went one direction and then the zoning officer came back and said, well, you know what, it's a warehouse, right?
Well,
You're gonna be reviewing a site plan and land
I think there
development.
currently, if there's a permit in place, no matter how old that permit is, that permit will define what the use is.
Okay.
If the use has changed over the years, and I think you indicated in 2021.
They could call it a motor freight, whatever.
Yeah,
you
so,
said.
so I wrote that down, so it's now called some different animal.
I think it has 2 different dual occupancies.
It changed to a motor freight terminal office,
Correct, yeah, that's it.
not a
I think
terminal,
I
but a
think
terminal office.
It's a terminal and an office is separate because of the Blue Line Logistics, but it never replaced the use of, I don't know if they came in at that point when they applied or the initial use to the building.
But I don't think it's a freight terminal.
No.
Well, no, it's not a freight terminal.
No.
I mean,
So, you know, my thought is this, and the planning commission, recommendation, my thought is that if you're inclined to not require the applicant to go through the land development process, at a minimum, there ought to be compliance with the site plan process, and I believe the zoning officer should make a determination based on the information provided in the site plan application as to what the use is. If that use requires, additional, zoning approvals, I mean, then so be it. But I think, you know, at this point in time, you would want it classified for what you're actually doing out there, not what somebody else was doing years ago as a freight terminal.
Correct.
And again, if it's classified as a warehouse, if it's classified as an office with accessory storage, that's not for us to decide, that's for the zoning officer to decide.
So does that decision have an impact to drive the site plan versus?
I don't think it does, because I think the proposal is still the same on paper, no matter what we call it.
Okay.
No matter what term we put to this animal, the actual
We're gonna
plan is the same.
meet those 18 bullet points you just brought up of the site plan.
Say that again?
Whatever the requirements for the site plan, we're still gonna meet those 18.
Yeah, you still have to submit.
Yeah, which is,
Speak of
yeah.
it, I feel differently.
Well, somebody wanna make a motion? Do we have any other comments or questions from the commission, the engineering, anybody?
Well, what we're trying to do here is send it on to the zoning officer?
Well, you're making a determination as to the process the plan would have to go through. If you waive land development and consider this a site plan, then it goes through the zoning officer first. It'll come back to you for a review. You will make recommendations, and then after that, the zoning officer will determine, based on your recommendations, whether to issue a zoning permit for them to move forward with it. Versus the normal process where you get to do your review and, as a land development plan, and then, you know, make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, they put eyes on it, and then they make a determination. So that's what you're deciding this evening.
Or you're deciding as a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors?
Yes.
So your recommendation is gonna be going to the Board of Supervisors?
That is true. Tonight is not the ultimate determination.
So we should go to the board of supervisors
If-
with your recommendation.
Based on the
Right,
planning
yeah,
commissions, if they recommend it.
Right.
Brent? I thought you were gonna say something.
Nope, nope,
Why all of a sudden are you quiet up there?
decision time.
Yes,
I don't know how to word a motion for, and this is probably
Well,
a bad
well,
term,
but
but
what-
sound
what-
alike, to use site plan instead of.
So the recommendation would be to the Board of Supervisors would be to waive the requirement of a land development plan and submit a site plan under section 250-35 of the zoning ordinance and comply with the requirements of that section.
Could I say so?
You may
moved?
adopt that.
Thank you. I would
All right,
like to.
have a motion on the floor
Motion,
by Tom.
move.
Have a second.
I'll second.
Have a second by Marty. Roll call, please.
Mr. Daniel?
Pass.
Mr. Chamberlain?
Pass, that means you come back to me.
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Hemming?
Yes?
Mr. Mills?
No.
Back to me. No,
Mr. Daniel? No?
Let-
no.
Let the motion reflect that the vote passed, 3 votes for, 2 votes against, to recommend approval to the Board of Supervisors to go with the site plan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to the next item, JLF Sumner LLC Special Exception Appeal, application for 8465 Airport Road Parcel K512-8A. Requesting a special exception for a non-conforming use to operate a commercial flooring company at the said address. Do we have an applicant present?
They're not
Well,
here?
I have to say the applicant not present, in which case we can reject this.
It's gonna be a recommendation to the zoning hearing board. So this is a non-conforming use changing to a lesser non-conforming use, which requires a site plan review under our ordinance. They are aware of it because they submitted a site plan after being requested to. So you could make no recommendation, or you could make a recommendation that because of an insufficient presentation and lack of appearance from the applicant, we offer no comments. If there's any concerns you have on the question, on the application you have, obviously nobody's here to ask them. I think the hearing is actually scheduled for next week, but that would be then presented to the zoning hearing board.
But didn't the application state that they had to be in front of the planning commission prior to going to the zoning hearing board?
Your actual
Correct.
zoning ordinance requires that.
Right,
It does.
right.
Special
And the
exception.
application instructions on the back too, if
Right,
you're coming
that's what I
for
mean,
special
I read through
exception.
the instructions and on it, it stated that, so if they don't, if they're not here before us tonight, then they can't go before the zoning hearing board.
Well, they can.
They
They
can.
absolutely can, but you can make a recommendation one way or the other.
Yeah,
They have the
Okay.
right to move, they have the right to move forward.
Right.
They have to be in person at a zoning hearing board meeting, because that's a quasi judicial function, but, you have the right to make your recommendation to the zoning hearing board known for that hearing.
Right.
So if I
I'll
were
make
to
a
move,
motion.
if I
I'll
were to
make a
move,
motion.
I'm sorry, if I were to move that, we recommend the zoning hearing board deny this request unless and until the applicant appears before the commission.
Well, you can't require them to come before the commission, but you can certainly make a negative recommendation if you choose to do that, or no comment.
it would be deny the request based on an insufficient presentation due to the applicant's lack of attendance at the required meeting.
That would be appropriate.
Not only that,
That would be the motion.
So, who's gonna make the motion?
Was that a motion that you made, or?
I didn't make it.
Somebody just has
Tom
to,
started.
Tom?
somebody just has to
You
adopt
don't have to
Brent's,
say it again, just say,
just
so
adopt Brent's comment.
moved.
No, I'll make a motion that the, planning commission,
Deny.
recommend that the zoning hearing board deny the request, because the applicant did not appear before the, planning commission.
And you did not have an adequate opportunity to review it.
And
Right.
did not have an adequate opportunity to review it.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Tom,
Second.
second by Marty. Roll call, please.
Mr. Daniel?
aye,
Mr. Chamberlain?
Aye.
Mr. Long?
Yes,
Mr. Hemming?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, let the record reflect the motion passed, 5 votes to none. Moving on to the next item.
Questions? Too fast for me.
Keystone Cement Land Development Waiver Request. Keystone Cement is requesting a waiver from Land Development Plan approval for 2 minor improvements to the existing facility at 6507 Morvatt Boulevard. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure, my name's David Schutte. I'm with Troutman Pepper Lock. I'm at 100 Market Street, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Good evening, my name is Chris Madden, the Environmental Compliance Manager at Keystone Cement. I live at 337 Muff Chunk Street in Nazareth.
Gabriel?
Gabriel, I live in Nazareth, 171 Tatami Road.
Good evening. We're here this evening. We submitted a letter on November 4th requesting waiver from land development plan approval under your saldo. Keystone Cement Company operates a cement manufacturing facility, approximately 37 acres currently is being used at the facility. There's two minor improvements are being planned. One is a secondary containment facility for 6 storage tanks that measures approximately less than 3,500 square feet. And then also a rail car unloading station with a secondary containment, and that measures about 2,500 square feet. Overall, that is less than 0.15% of the existing of the size of the existing facility. Keystone has worked with the County Conservation District, and it's been determined that they continue to use with the same NPDES permit, just submitting an erosion and sediment control plan for the construction. And we just see that this does not create any issues that are typically dealt with through land development, such as stormwater management. This stormwater created by these, any additional stormwater created by these improvements is being managed by the existing stormwater facilities at the plant. And and it does not increase traffic, or anything else in the center of the facility, so it would not affect other properties. So we're requesting a waiver of land development plan approval.
Okay. Well, I grew up fishing the stream right next to the Keystone. I fished in the reservoir and I fished in the quarries that were open when I was just a young boy. Unfortunately, what I will tell you is this is a very charged topic because your letter, you know, I understand what your letter is saying. This is a charged topic, and the fact that this is going to allow you to bring in hazardous material for fuel to burn in the kiln, in the kilns, right? That's the purpose of this upgrade. And I can tell you that I was at one of the presentations where you guys were looking to accept or get your permit renewed, I guess it was down at Richmond High School, I believe it was. And I can tell you that the audience, it was unbelievably charged with the potential for a hazardous waste spill or containment of the Monocacy, the surrounding properties, the residents that live there. Personally, I would believe that it would be remiss of us if we didn't follow through the saldo requirements simply because it's such a publicly charged topic. I know why you guys want to do what you want to do, but if we don't keep this out in the open or we give perception that we're giving you a waiver, I don't know that that would be appropriate for us because of the particular topic that we're dealing with and the fact that there's going to be hazardous material on the rail cars going to the facility. That's my personal opinion as a member of this municipality and as planning commission. I'll open it up, gentlemen. You guys want to talk, discuss, whatever, please do.
I did read through the materials. One question, so maybe more than one. How are fuels currently being delivered to the site?
They're being delivered by over-the-road trucks, and they're with an unloading pad, which unloads to the currently existing tanks.
Okay, and the nature of that fuel is currently?
The variety. Some of it is waste oil. Some of it is spent industrial solvents. That's generally how what most of them come from.
Okay. And I'm not sure how you measure it, but on an annual basis, how much of those fuels combined get delivered?
Gallons?
Whatever measurement you want to use.
7 million?
7 million gallons-ish? Okay. So with the new facility, or proposed facility, what's the nature, how is the nature of those fuels changing as a result of this project?
As far as the
In
quantity
terms of-
or
both.
Okay.
Both the nature of the fuels and the quantity and the mix, I'll say.
Okay. The nature will remain the same. We still have to follow our Resource Recovery Act permit issued to us by DEP. So we're still limited to certain concentrations of certain analytes, so measuring certain metals, pH, as well as adhering to certain waste codes that restrict what we're allowed to bring in. That is remaining the same, despite what infrastructure we have.
Okay, so if I can paraphrase, just that the nature of the change is your current permits cover it.
Correct.
Yes.
And in terms of quantity, well, before we move off the nature of it, regardless of what the permits currently cover, in terms of practically between what is delivered today and what will be delivered once this project goes into place, what are the differences in terms of what you're now able to use at the plant?
So
for the layperson.
Sure. So the rate at which we burn is still limited the same. The amount that we can store will increase.
So when you
So-
get deliveries today,
Yeah, I'm not asking the question correctly, I guess.
where do they go? Like, obviously, I see there's an existing storage tank system.
Yes, and there's a offloading for trucks that is nearby there, around the back.
Now we have, we receive approximately 4 existing tanks, and you can see here there is 2 projects. There is the rail car that I think was the most concerned about, and there is the tank farm that is basically replacing all 4 tanks. For this project, it's more like we're gonna have more storage capacity, and give us more flexibility to burn. We run out of material Saturday and Sunday, so basically we burn just Monday to Friday. And that storage tank is just gonna give us more capacity, and we're gonna decommission the old one. So basically we are putting just new equipment in a brand new path. And part of the area that we're going to use already have concrete, is industrial area. The second one is the rail. And the rail is gonna reduce the amount of truck that we receive, because now you can bring material by rail.
And don't get me wrong, do I think bringing it in by rail is safer than bringing it in by a tractor-trailer truck? Probably. But, again, this is a very charged topic with the public. I mean, it's been in the newspapers, it's been on TV, it's been on the radio, and that's where the problem comes for us. We have to be transparent. You know, we can't be perceived as giving somebody a favoritism to do something, right? So we need to be transparent to the public who we serve, who put us, you know, in this position.
What about, and just a suggestion, I'm not special in these topics, but what about if we separate the 2 topics that we have here, and we waive the tank farm? Because the tank farm is just to replace the 4 old tanks that we have, and basically put a 6 new ones. And no waive the rail, and then we follow the process for the rail station, because that was the one that was more.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I know none of you was the existing tanks part of the 2008 modernization of the plant? Did that occur with that? Because I think we did review land development at that time. I just don't know what was reviewed as part of that. Because there was some area where, like the sediment to the east, there's berming and other things that came in because of that.
The same tanks,
or the original to when you got the permit in the 80s.
they replaced 2 of the tanks with the same size in the same place around
Okay.
that time, but as far
Okay.
as the infrastructure around the fuels receiving, that did not change through that modernization.
So, obviously, are you gonna go 100% to rail, or are you still gonna have trucks? It looks like you're modifying it and you're doing both.
You wouldn't have the capability to receive both.
Okay.
Like I say, if the rail is a topic that is complicated,
Right.
at least we can separate the 2 constructions, even because they are going to happen in different time frames.
Right.
And we can maybe waive the tanks, because basically just new set of 6 tanks doing basically the same that the old ones are doing. And we can not
So-
waive the rail.
So the tanks, are they permitted by DEP?
Yes.
Do you have the permits already for the tanks?
Yes.
Yeah, he says it.
I mean, they would be the jurisdiction. We have some limited
Right.
things that go in.
Right. The only question I have, and I was curious about this, is in your statement somewhere, you wrote, or it was written, since the engineering drawings reflect slight changes to the design previously approved by the PADEP, incorporation of rail car scale, reconfigured secondary containment, straightening, these modified plans have yet to be approved.
So coming back to the rail,
Right.
that's what I'm trying to see to separate.
Yeah, right,
We
right.
can separate both. The original drawings have a curve for the rail, and the rail company didn't like it, and they want to straight out the railroad.
Okay.
And because of that, we submit a new
Okay,
Class A modification.
okay.
Class
So,
1.
Class 1 modification, and it need to be, it's a minor modification, but it need to be still approved.
Well, personally, I would tend to think that that would be an appropriate solution, separating the 2 projects. Because, you know, that way you can move forward on your tanks.
I mean, you could bifurcate, I mean, whatever the plan, I mean, you could grant and in part and deny in part, you can deny it all, you could grant it all, so yes, you could grant and deny part of the application.
Jill? I see a look of
If
consternation.
you're going through land if we're gonna say you're going through land development, does it really matter if we're not including the tanks? Like, they're gonna have to show the tanks anyway and go through.
When they come in for the rail car, they're going to have to show it, and I guess we're not looking at it from a zoning review, because obviously there's no property boundaries we're looking at. Maybe stormwater, but I don't know, like, I guess the question is, and you had mentioned that stormwater facilities on site, I know you have a DEP permit for that stormwater management, but I don't know if that meets today's standards for the proposed
what I'm-
impervious.
Yeah, so I heard there was an land development in 2008.
There was something in 2008, I just don't know the extent.
So I don't know, and I know you have some stormwater facilities which may meet DEP requirements. The question is does it meet township requirements in the County Act 167? So if you went through all that and you have a detention basin and you're showing you're meeting all those requirements, and that this little bit, can fit in and it's still gonna operate and meet your release rates, then that's fine. But we would need to see that, but if
Even
it's
because
only,
the farm tank water, storm water doesn't go to any place.
yeah,
We put into the process.
yeah, and that's
So that water
something
doesn't
with
go
like,
to the
with,
creek or
So you're
doesn't go to-
burning it off, what
Yes.
overflow excess
Yeah,
is in
and I
there.
All the storm water collecting in the farm tank it goes into the process.
Right.
Don't go to any place.
yeah, but then you still have some additional stormwater, and I realize it's small, like, I think you're talking about maybe, 2,450 potentially
for the
new?
Yeah,
rail.
that's for the rail
That's
car,
for the
yeah,
rail.
yeah.
Okay,
But
so-
that doesn't include the paved areas for staging of trucks, or does it? Because there's a couple areas on the, I think it's your permit plan out area, the
Yeah.
figure 4, the
and,
multicolored
not
one.
being
yeah.
familiar,
I don't know, are those new?
No, that's
No,
not-
Yeah,
the-
those are existing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, the only two improvements is the roof for the rail
Yeah, you see
and the,
these
Okay.
six
and the
top
6 tanks.
here, those are the tank farm, and back here is the rail station.
Is there an existing pipe from the rail siding to the tank farm?
No.
Or that's part of what
No.
you're
Yeah.
going to do?
When we do the rail station, it's gonna have piping going to the tanks. But now, we could just do the tanks using the same system that we have
Sure,
now.
yeah.
We're just replacing tanks.
So it's not just the rail siding, there's also a pipeline to be built
Which,
It's going overhead.
Yeah,
overhead.
Going overhead.
It's on a existing
Yeah.
truss.
Is it?
Yeah, it's right here, it's shown.
And how much, didn't you guys just, like, buy a lot of commitments for natural gas? Aren't you switching over to a lot of natural gas instead of other fuels?
So, we use coal, we use gas, and we use the solvent. Basically, every cement plant, Heidelberg, every cement plant is trying to look for alternative fuels to reduce the fuel fossil and CO2 reduction and environmental friendly. If we don't use this solvent, that solvent is gonna be burning someplace else. Maybe just in a burner, doing emissions without any benefit. We use that solvent, there is a waste for other industry to create cement, like doing a second purpose for that material. So many cement plants are doing that, burning pipe, burning waste, burning trash.
But, and I think the natural gas, the expansion of that was basically to eliminate some of the fly ash and the coal that was coming in.
Yeah, basically
reducing
to
truck
reduce
trips.
the coal, yeah.
Yeah, to take it off of those types of
Right.
operations and more,
Yeah, they actually ran a
balance.
line that runs up along Hunsicker's property.
Yeah,
Along
yeah,
the
that's
Monocacy, that
when they
runs right to
came
the
in.
plant.
Yeah.
Well,
We still use gas, and this is going to substituting part of the gas. So if we don't have solvent, we need to increase the use of gas, but that's not environmental friendly.
Yeah.
We would like to have more solvent.
well, regarding the rail siding, I think that's a matter that the, elected Board of Supervisors needs to be involved in. I think the tank farm is something I think can be separated and
Joe, I see consternation.
Well, I just think, that there's maybe members of the public on this one that you might want to be heard, after the planning commission's done asking all your
Sure.
questions and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's, again, I don't know, I know the use is very important in this aspect, but again, we're looking for a determination in terms of, what's the normal procedure and what's the level of review gonna be.
Right.
You have to make that determination regarding if it's just partially the tank project. Is there anything in that portion of the project that you believe requires the more intensive review of a land development or not, I guess. And I think we all agree that the second step does.
All right, that is you mind if we ask the public for any input at this point?
Go right ahead.
Is there anybody from the audience who'd like to comment on any of this discussion that we've been having? Sure.
I'm more curious, but I'd like to ask a
Can you
question.
identify?
Chuck Aldhauser, 6829 Spruce Lane, Bath. What's the useful life of the tanks that exist? And are you approaching the end of that useful life?
So we have four tanks.
Can I ask you to maybe move over to?
Or you can just hold the mic, take it off the stand. You can hold it.
Alright.
You can pull it right out.
So we have four tanks. Two of them are at all and kind of at the end of life. Two of them are new, and the life expectation for those tanks it should be something about 15, 20 years. But they have a rigorous testing, and every year you need to do NDT and thickness testing and pressure testing. That system, if one day you go there, is a lot of regulation for that system. So we need engineers reviewing in the routine basis, checking pipe, checking tanks, checking the electrician are simulating temperature, simulating pressure to be sure that all the interlocks work, and it's a system that is full of protection. So, yeah.
So you're
You might as well
regulated
hold it.
more along the lines of with the federal government rather than.
For example,
state.
I have been working
State.
in cement plant for 26 years. In this plant, we have every kind of regulation that we normally don't have in other cement plants, just because that system there. Yeah, we receive a lot of visiting, a lot of document and testing and engineering to check that everything is in compliance. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or comments from anyone? All right, so we need to make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors on whether to grant the waiver for the whole facility, grant a partial waiver, or require make a recommendation for following subdivision land development ordinance.
Norm, you've been pretty quiet over there. Any input?
I guess, just one question, as far as, have you had other expansions over the years, or increased your impervious surface over the years?
The big one would have been the one mentioned
Well,
in 2008.
I think it's hard because of it being a quarry. Like, I think we really wanna look at circulation areas and if
Well, that's
anything
what-
has changed.
Yeah, like have parking or anything as far as roadways been installed that may have not come through the township, that was just done on site? And I guess, and what I'm getting at is, I think regardless of what the decision is, if it's a land development or if you're saying site plan or some type of review, maybe there needs to be at least a review for stormwater, not that you may have to do something, but just maybe documenting. And then if you have calculations, and I'm not sure the township, if you've been doing all your stormwater through your NPDES permit, maybe just having that information provided to the township to do a review, just to make sure that you're meeting.
The last completion of the plant was in 2009, 2008.
Something like that.
Yeah, and nothing has been added since then.
Okay.
Like he said,
Yeah,
the quarry is growing every time we blast.
Mhm.
So.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's more the
It's in
employee
it's in the
parking.
other side of the
Yeah,
road,
that's
in the
right.
pit, so.
Yeah, I think we're really just looking at the side of the actual plant.
Yeah, the
But I
actual
think-
one looks the same.
none of us have been here since that 2008, 2009 modernization. So if we came up with a base plan or could find the record plan that was done, maybe we can come up with a baseline of, okay, now this is where we're increased or where we're going to be going
Just to start
in the
documenting,
future.
yeah.
Just so it's easier on everybody's end, not that we're looking at, I mean, how big is the plant site? 37 acres is the permit size? So it's pretty substantial, but I don't know if you have any records from when they did the land
But I can
development.
tell that everything that is new at the plant, it was in 2008 and 9, and everything else, all the other buildings around, and
It was there from the beginning.
Yeah, 19 something, so nothing new having built since.
It's something that we can look through records, and if you can look through records, but the other thing, if, depending on their decision, if you can provide us some of the testing or the permit for the tanks, just for our records, because I don't think we received anything from DEP on that. We usually get for the air quality and some of the other stuff that you guys do, so that'll be helpful.
So you'd like a copy of the?
If you just send
the permit
electronically of the tank permit.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's been pointed out here, but where the tank farm's going now, the majority of that, with the new tanks, a majority of that is currently paved as it is, next to the old tanks. So only a small segment is going to be newly paved.
Yeah, I think we're just concerned really around the area of the offices and the shop on your plan. Kind of that northern side of where the plant is.
You mean about the rail section?
In the plan itself, not the offices across the street at the quarry. Where the conveyor comes in, across 329, comes into that truck pile, the building's right next to it. I think your employee parking's in the front there.
Okay, so, somebody gonna make a motion, recommendation for the board of supervisors. I would think appropriate, a site plan for the tank farm and a following saldo for the rail spur, but, you know, those are the options on the table, or waiving it all, or requiring saldo for it all.
Excuse me, Bob, we talked in the past briefly, but the chairman is permitted to make motions. So if you wish to make a motion, you are allowed to.
Yeah, there's nothing that prohibits the chair from making a motion.
Okay, well, then I'll make a motion.
See how you like it.
Then, maybe you'll be the chairman next year.
Well,
Yeah, exactly. So I would make a motion that we require, or recommend to the board of supervisors that a site plan requirement site plan be required for the tank farm, and then we have the subdivision land development requirements, needed for the additional rail the addition of the rail, unloading area.
And the supporting.
And the supporting
infrastructure
piping
for
going
that.
back and forth between the rail car and the tank farm.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Bob, and we have a second by Marty. Roll call, please.
Mr. Daniel?
Aye.
Mr. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
No.
Mr. Hemming?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes. Let the record reflect the motion passed 4 votes to 1. Thanks.
Thank you.
You made a big motion, then you reject it.
It's not fun, is it?
I never said it was fun.
You did very well.
We didn't volunteer for this for fun, did we?
No, we did not. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Villages of East Allen conditional use application, 711 Beth Bath Pike. ARA Racquetball LP is proposing Villages of East Island Township, a mixed-use townhouse commercial development on their property on Beth Bad Pike, State Route 512. Gentlemen,
Good evening.
good evening.
Bill Erdman here on behalf of ARA Development, along with Chris Reese, the design engineer. We're basically here to ask for conditional use approval with the idea that we can move forward. You've seen this plan in sketch form from what Chris told me about 2 years ago. We had some general discussion about the plan. We took the comments under advisement and have incorporated those changes into the current plan that's been presented. It might be a good idea at this point for Chris to just do a quick overview of what's proposed on the property.
All right, so just to, refresh your
Your
memory
name?
for those that are.
Did you say who you are and where you're from?
Chris Reese.
Chris Rice from T&M Associates.
Okay.
So I was the design engineer, on these plans. So this project is proposing, a commercial area in the front portion of the site and then a townhomes in the rear portion of this. So it's gonna be a mixed-use development. The front portion has basically four different areas. One is a retail area with 2 buildings, then there's 2 medical office buildings, and then a proposed restaurant. And in the rear portion, there are 10 6-unit townhome portions.
Can I
So,
pause you just for 1 second? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Angela, is it possible to bring that plan up for the room to see? Because I don't think the public can see it. Is that hard?
You can bring it up,
I can,
but
this is a
we
different.
can't zoom
I can
in.
put it on
Okay.
the side, right?
Well,
I can put it down here.
Put it to the side, then, I don't think it's-
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. I think, and that's good, that's okay too. I mean, we have it in front of us, so.
Right, so as we mentioned, we were here a couple of years ago, a couple times with a sketch plan proposal, and we've refined the drawing a lot, since that time, but this hasn't changed very much since the last time we were here. I think a couple things we did, we brought the driveway entrance further back from 512, because before we had the, side entrances to the commercial areas closer to 512. So we moved that back to meet the ordinance requirements. And I think we have, I think that was probably one of the bigger changes we had, and then it's splitting the retail up into 2 different buildings, because originally we had one larger building, which was too large for the conditional use requirements. So we did take all the comments that we received into account and updated the plan, and now after sitting on the back burner for a little bit, we're back with the conditional use plans to start moving forward. So, as part of this submission, we did do a project narrative, and we went through all the different standards from the ordinance, the general standards, and then also specific standards for the commercial and residential. And we can go through that in more detail, or just hit the bullet points, more important items, answer any questions that you might have. And we're really here, for conditional use, before we get into land development, to get any conditions that we have to consider during land development, because we know, the traffic, the intersection with 512, and then our, connecting to public water and sewer are some of the bigger items that we are working on.
Okay. So, have you discussed this with Hanover for public water and sewage?
Yes, the public water is not gonna be a problem. I've been in touch with the city about them, there's no problem at all. The public sewer, I will tell you, is a challenge. There's no question about that, because Hanover Township made it very clear that they were not gonna provide additional capacity. So we recognize that's one of the issues. The second one is the access out onto the main road. There have been some discussions in the past, I believe, if I remember correctly, another engineer handled it. There was a scoping meeting 7 or 8 years ago on one of the earlier plans. And one of the issues that has to be addressed is access into the property, whether it's going to be right in, right out, whether it's going to be restricted in some way, shape, or form. So we recognize among the many conditions, and I should point out that in the narrative, each of the individual items, both general and specific, are all addressed. But there's no doubt about the fact that the access and the public sewer, which is required for the conditional use, are going to be the challenges. But we don't wanna be in a catch-22, so we're trying to make sure we know the entire landscape of what's needed, so as we move forward, we can address everything.
Okay.
But we know we have to address those, no
Fair
question about it.
Well, I would also think that you have to have an alternative access and egress point to the property. You can't rely on a sole single point of in and out, right, off of 512.
Okay?
But if you need, if there's an accident right at that intersection, and you've got a fire, you've got somebody that needs ambulance, you need some reason to get in and off the property, and that's blocked shut, for whatever reason, you've gotta have some other way of getting in and out of the property. Now, I see that you show potential easement off of that first lane into Steuben, but you don't have that yet, right? You
No, we don't, and that's why.
That's another challenge.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that's a
Right.
challenge,
Well,
because,
that's obviously something that has to be there. I mean, because if that's not there, then you've gotta have some other way of getting off and on the property for
Right.
at least
And-
emergency vehicles.
And that, so in the way of getting to Steuben, I'll put it that way, you've got property owned, I believe, by Jandal.
yes,
And I think you also have a piece of property owned by the development to the south. Is that true?
the only thing that precludes, the connection to get to the intersection down below would be that short piece of easement, which is, controlled by Mr. Jandal. Once you get through that, then you're onto a road system where you can get in and out. But that's where the challenge
I
is.
thought that the development to the south actually owned a strip along Steuben.
They may own a strip, but it's not blocking that access.
Yeah, well, anyway, you look into that, because
Yeah, no, I looked into
at
it.
least Northampton County's property records seem to have that strip owned by
Just say the name of it.
the Regency at Creekside.
Regency.
Yeah.
But again, that doesn't, it's that strip, that narrow strip that's shown below, that's in gray.
No, what he's,
Right.
what
So
he's,
let me-
But that next strip down,
Illustrate.
I'll show
Marty.
you, yeah,
Takes-
to the south, so if you scroll down a little bit, I don't know if you can scroll down. So, to get to Steuben,
okay,
there's a strip here that is actually owned by Regency. So, this, Jandal's property, I don't believe abuts Steuben at that point. So I think there's a small piece of land there that's owned by someone else. Just
It
check.
might be, we'll have to look into
Yeah,
that.
look at that.
my recollection
I
is
could
it
be wrong.
does, Jandal's strip does abut Steuben,
Okay.
because we had looked at that
Well,
probably 2
you'll
years.
figure that out.
Yeah.
But we have to fix
That
that.
doesn't, that doesn't affect us tonight.
Yeah.
You were just asking about what challenges you might face that we see, right?
Yeah.
If that's the case, you just have someone else you need to get an answer from.
Right, and as to the dual access, that's exactly why that's critical, because irrespective of any concerns of the township, just from the practicality of being able to utilize that property, that's reasonable, there needs to be alternate access points, especially if it's a left, right in, right out, because now you've got a limited movement into the
Yeah,
front.
absolutely.
You have to have an alternate access.
Sure, sure.
I don't think there's too much doubt at some point Steuben Road, is gonna have a traffic signal there. I think that was
Right.
looked at preliminarily when the previous project came in. I don't think it met warrants, but I think at some point that's gonna have to, because Jandal Land Company owns quite a bit of land to the west of this, or to the other. That's gonna be accessing that same thing. So there's a number of players involved. My understanding, in talking about this some years ago, is the concept, which I think is a great idea, was to create a parallel service road running from Steuben all the way up to the next public road.
Can you just turn that
I'm
mic
sorry.
towards you?
Was to run a parallel service road from Steuben all the way up to the next public road, so that connecting between these various properties, including a property Mr. Bartolacci owns on the other side, could all be accessed from these central connection points. We made some attempt early on to talk to Mr. Bartolacci to try to bring him into that conversation. It wasn't successful, but we do know we have to address that. That's probably the simplest way to answer it, that we know we have to address that, and without that access, we've got some significant problems.
Okay.
And I think we could add a second access out to 512 for fire trucks, just a paver access, something. I know we can't get a full access through
Right.
PennDOT, but having something
Right.
there.
Big grasscrete, I've heard
Right,
that term.
yeah, so I don't think that's.
Something like that.
So there's
problem at all.
alternatives.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't have any,
Yeah,
I think
okay,
that shouldn't be any
so,
issue.
I just had a question on, one of the conditions is the commercial development basically precluding the residential portion, at least 50% of it. Do you see any issue with that? With like tenants, I know the uses, this isn't the first time this has come in, so has there been tenants or anything that shows that you can meet that condition?
No.
Okay.
Are you saying they need,
Yeah, so the commercial aspect, you can only do 50% of the residential, you can't do 100% until you have 40%
I
commercial
think like during
development.
construction, that'd be part of
Okay.
it would have to be phased that way.
Yeah,
okay,
it
I
would be, I
misunderstood
just
that
wasn't
part.
sure if you had tenants up front
Oh.
to accelerate that, not
No.
that we're stuck with
There-
30
there-
units and,
There've been inquiries on the property, quite a few of them over the number of years, but, once we can start to move formally, I think it'll be easier to solidify those. But that would become part of the planning to say that the phasing of the project would have to be such that that would occur in order to allow the commercial to go in.
One obvious thing to me with this plan, when I look at it, and maybe I'm out to lunch, but I have a hard time seeing emergency vehicles making some of these radius turns. They just don't seem large enough for like a full-scale fire truck kind of scenario, large fire trucks. Has this plan been drawn based on our fire truck, or our emergency vehicle equipment lengths?
We did draw this based on, standard fire trucks. We could definitely take a look at that. Is our
You
30-foot
include a ladder
wide?
truck in that?
Yeah, 'cause these are,
Probably not.
well, I think, these are, some part of this might be that the scale of the drawing, because the roads are 30 feet wide, the driveways. And that center island was gonna be a flush island, concrete island there. So it's gonna be a circle, but it's gonna be traversable by emergency vehicles.
Okay,
That was the intent.
okay. Because
But
a
that's
lo-
something we can definitely provide
Right.
a circulation plan showing fire truck
And
circulation.
part of the land development process would include, obviously, those details.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it looks to be the same plan that was here several months ago, whatever it was, and some of these comments were brought up, and it doesn't seem as if there were any real changes to the plan. I know Norm had brought up a point about access to the rear of these apartment buildings for emergency services kind of thing, and it didn't appear as if there's any kind of additional access there. Again, I'm going back recollection from the last time when it was here.
I think that was several years ago, and I think that's when they were looking at the age qualified. They were coming in for elderly housing, it wasn't part of the mixed-use proposal.
Right.
That, when I recall the comments that were made for that, I don't think you actually ever came to us physically to do a presentation, I think we just did review letters, because it was timing with weather and other things.
Okay.
And these were townhomes, so we kind of envisioned having like rear yards.
Right.
I think before we came in originally with more apartment-style buildings, and that
First.
wasn't applicable in this.
But prior to that, there was a plan that Bill was involved with Joel Wiener at the time, and they were looking at extending the age qualified as long as it was in a certain distance, and it had certain acreage requirements and access to all of the criteria. But that was not relative to any of the sketch plans, I don't think. I don't believe we actually met face-to-face on a presentation for this project. Which, it's a sketch plan,
Yeah, no, you're right.
it's
It
not
was a
required.
very informal discussion.
But there was extensive discussions, because we talked about berming and buffering, and then access
Yep.
potentially
Yep.
with heights of the buildings being proposed.
Mhm.
There were several concerns with that proposal.
But as to the concern of the turning radiuses, as Chris said, there were some turning radiuses run, but we'd have to satisfy the fire company, which is typically, the fire chief, can you get in there, what do we need to do, and, so that's a pretty standard process as you go through plans. If I could just take one moment to clarify something.
Sure.
Hard to read from the distance, my eyes aren't what they used to be.
Join the club.
This is our property down to here. This is showing the actual future right-of-way connection. This is the piece that Jana owns, which gets you to Steuben Road.
Right.
So this is the only concern right here. This is on our property. This is the piece right here that we need approval of Jandal to be able to get over to Steuben Road.
So I guess the question was maybe is Steuben Road right away right up against the Jandal or is there potentially a sliver between the Jandal property line
I
and the
think
Steuben?
it's probably part of the future dedication of Steuben Road, and because that was never formally recorded, maybe there's a portion that's showing ownership, because we did not call that the township has actually dedicated that road yet.
I was just gonna say, you're exactly right, Brent, there is a timing issue in the dedication.
Yeah, I think that's what's
Yeah.
showing up right now is
But,
where
and I
they,
thought maybe it was, you had that one gray line and then you had the dark line, that may be the right.
Yeah, I have the subdivision plan right here too, but if you.
Well, I'm the president of the association, but, so I can tell you that we just went to a tax hearing. And the parcel that Mr. Chamberlain described is a parcel that we were taxed on. And the county records still show Steuben Road, but we're getting taxed for that strip that is between Steuben Road and the Jandal property. So clearly, and it runs the whole length, and clearly it'll have to cross that piece. So that piece, I can give you the parcel number if you need it, but not tonight, but I can send it to you.
Right here.
It's a separate parcel?
Yeah.
From the main,
The strip,
But then
yeah,
there's
that
this
strip.
line,
It's
which
a
is
strip.
that line.
Yeah, but why would that have come up at the time that the plan was approved for?
oh, well.
But another wrinkle in the connection process.
What's that?
I said another wrinkle in the connection.
Yes.
Another spanner in the works.
The only other comment I would make about connection is, I don't know if you can put a second connection out onto Steuben, but if that could be fit in there somehow, that might be worthwhile considering, looking at. I know it's kind of tight, you've got a lot in that small space, but if you, as you said, have a right in, right out on 512, and then you're relying on that as being your primary, essentially coming off of Steuben, that's gonna put a lot of traffic through that one outlet there. A secondary outlet onto Steuben might be valid if it could be fit in. That would be my only other suggestion is.
so
putting it up-
that parcel, the L61581K is the future dedication of the right-of-way that has not been accepted yet.
Right, that's why it's still in the name of the
Yeah.
HOA, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
All
a
right.
timing issue with that dedication. that's
correct,
why
correct. We weren't going
ultimately
to
that
accept a
strip goes
road
away,
that
but
wasn't
it's still not
finished.
right away. No, the concept, as I said earlier, the whole idea was to follow that original service road concept, to channel all the traffic along this parallel road, to provide an access here at Steuben, as well as one further north that may ultimately be signalized too in the future.
And I'll just say, the development to the south is fairly large, and depending on how good the restaurant is that you propose as one of the commercial properties, it would provide walking access to folks that live in that neighborhood. So make sure it's a good restaurant.
With a bar.
With a bar.
Jill, you have any other questions or comments?
Is that one of the conditions, gotta be restaurant with a bar?
The good restaurant with the good one. We do have, speaking of that sidewalk interconnecting everything on the site, including up to our property line, we're proposing that.
Yeah, I would just have the fire chief look, particularly the townhouses up where there's the lawn and then there's the driveway, so it's up to the north. With that long parking lot with not an access looping, I mean, if they're coming in, it looks like they're gonna have to back all the way out, and if they're gonna have able to back out far enough that they can turn down the other access road.
Yeah, I think we had a couple spots that, especially like just at the top of the plan where
Yeah.
the truck could, turn around, but, we can reach out to the fire chief and make sure we have the current
Right.
specifications and make sure we put that on our plan.
I think just in general too for the development, just snow removal areas and.
Hanover Engineering has the specifications for the area.
Yeah, but we didn't review this because this is the use. So, but it's something that could be a condition of the plan, and it most certainly will be.
So, yeah, the developer needs to do that, I mean, and it really should come from the township, the standards to the developer, because they have the plans and they can do the turning radiuses.
Right.
But, yeah, so we have the specifications, but the township should just be providing the specifications.
When we can provide that, and maybe that's an exhibit that you wanna have as part of your conditional use application. I think honestly, if you reach out to Jim a lot, he should have the turning templates for that. So it sounds like that is a recommendation that you wanna add potentially.
What's that?
Adequate access and maneuverability for emergency vehicles.
Yeah, actually, I wrote that one down.
Yeah, so it's just a specification, so they know that they can create their own turning radiuses, so, yeah.
Yep.
The only other comment I had is, like, looking at this plan again, and I know we had mentioned before the, requirement for the 100-foot buffer,
Yes.
and you do have it along the southern property line, and then you have it along a portion of the northern property line, but potentially, I'm looking at this and thinking the 100-foot buffer would have to go all the way across the commercial property to the residential, because the PC2 is next to it, and the way the section is written, buffer yards along continuous property zoned to allow residential use. So PC2 actually does allow residential use.
That was the issue with the amendment that was proposed, because it would impose a residential property next to a current commercial, and then they would have to put a 100-foot setback on their property.
Correct.
So what I think she's getting, that it needs to be accounted for on your side, so that the adjoining property owner is not forced, where those uses wouldn't be compatible with the special buffer requirement, or special berm requirements. So it might have to recess it in.
So at the top portion, I don't know if you can.
Scroll down a little bit.
Yep, because we do show it like
Scroll it up.
we were saying, where it's against the, at the corner, 'cause it's a different zone at that front property. But then it is the PC2, so you're thinking, you're saying the
So
100-foot would apply on the northern
E-
property line as well?
To your area where you have the buffer between your commercial and your residential. So you wouldn't have it where you have your residential, but you're showing that, buffer line there, from that all
Right.
the way to 512 should be the 100-foot buffer.
Okay, I missed I was thinking this 30-foot here, and this being here,
No, I'm talking about the 100-foot buffer, that's along
in between this.
No, that's along, that's
Where we have our basin.
perpendicular,
Oh,
where
okay.
your basin
Basin
is,
here
yeah.
and some
Okay,
parking there.
no, then I,
So you're providing the 100-foot buffer in the front portion of it to the east, where that existing house is.
So with the expectation that that will become residential at some
It could.
point?
With the potential
But
it
it
could.
won't.
Because it talks about anything residential, any residential use of the property. So if it's permitted in that district, then it's considered to be a potential residential use. And
you
yes,
may-
it's something we talked about in
it may
previous.
come up as an opposition, like, similar to the, so, just as a,
Yeah, we
So
can look
it would
into
be a
that.
comment, if we were into plan review for land development, it would be a comment that we would be making, in our opinion, that 100-foot buffer has to go along the northern property line for the full length of your commercial area.
I mean, I think you have plenty of room to rework the structures in a manner that they're still kind of consistent with your design and accommodate that.
I mean, you might also be able to incorporate the turning movements too, depending on what we come up with.
Well, and that's exactly right,
Two of them
in the
together may end up in
circulation within the site.
Yeah.
I know there are some constraints on that portion with remediation and other things, but
Okay, we'll look into that.
I know that was something that was previously concerned by the township as well, because we have strenuous buffering requirements that it's not then imposed on anybody else by not their own doing.
All right, any other questions or comments? Would someone like to make a recommendation for conditional use?
Well, I guess before we get into the recommendation, the last conditional use review we did, are there any recommendations or items of concern that you want to discuss before you make it to incorporate in a motion? Or do you have them all, or are you fine with nothing? Not that you're just coming up with them in the motion-making process. Does anybody have any concerns or items?
Well, I guess my concerns are based on the plan as it sits here. So, I don't know if this is the right way to think about it, but specific concerns I have are things that would need to be addressed as part of land development. Like emergency access, and this is not a plan set in stone.
You can make a recommendation to the board to impose reasonable conditions related to ensure emergency access. You can do that,
Right.
if there's something that you can identify.
Right.
But this plan is malleable too, it's not like, this is the land development plan.
Right, well, and that's, I mean,
That's
that's
my-
basic,
That's the quandary I'm in.
right, well, that's
It's like,
ba-
we'll put some conditions out, or recommendations for conditions, but as part of land development, all that stuff gets fleshed out anyway,
But
unless I
realize-
got that wrong.
But if you put conditions out and we can't meet some of the conditions, our conditional use approval is void.
right,
Joe?
right.
Yes,
have to
and,
meet those
and,
conditions.
you know, despite whatever the recommendation is tonight, I would say that, when you appear before the Board of Supervisors with your conditional use approval, you know, it's a formal public hearing.
Right.
There's some recent appellate case law that says, you know, and I'm on that side a lot, as you well know, we just can't show up and say we'll comply. So I know there's some things in your response letter that says we'll comply. You just need to provide a little bit more definitive information at the public hearing that allows, you know, the legislative
Okay.
body to make a determination that you most likely could satisfy that condition. So just be aware about that. As a matter of fact, we just did a municipal law seminar in Northampton County with, you know, all the municipal and development attorneys, and that's, there's some recent Commonwealth Court cases that say, you know, back in the day, we would show up and say, we'll comply, and we just can't do that anymore. So just be aware that, you know, each of the specific criteria I'm referring to, not necessarily general, but the specific criteria, you might have to have, you know, a little bit more in terms of a presentation that assures the board that you can meet the conditions.
And that's what I was thinking, so between the planning commission and the
Yes.
supervisors, we can do the homework,
You can do it.
provide the formal responses to say.
Yeah, I just didn't want you to be blindsided, you
No,
know, if that
I
would
understand.
happen at the
Yeah.
planning, at the Board of Supervisors meeting.
Well, so I got emergency, conditions related to emergency vehicle access.
Mm-hmm.
I got conditions related to buffering based on potential residential use in the PC2.
100 foot on the northern boundary.
Well, that's the buffering.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's as it's codified in our ordinances.
Sure.
For residential use in that PC2.
Well,
right?
right, it's in a commercial area next to residential. Pardon?
Yeah.
Public, before you vote.
What?
Public, before
Yeah,
you vote.
yeah, we're not there yet.
I didn't think so, I knew you knew, I just
Yeah.
always.
What
back
did
here-
I miss, guys?
Okay, so we have the
Sanitary
turning radius for emergency vehicles within the property.
Well, that's,
Mhm.
it's
No,
emergency.
no, there's difference. There's
Emergency
emergency
access.
vehicle access
I got it.
that gets them on the property.
And maneuverability.
And then you have the maneuverability part
Within
of
the
it.
property.
Right.
Jill
Right,
mentioned,
All
sanitary
roads-
sewer.
All
Sewage.
roads must be readdressed and widened.
Well,
You got a 25-foot width road there.
I think the requirement is a 24-foot
Well, I don't care what the
in the
requirement is.
ordinance.
You
but-
can't get a fire truck around that area.
But the turning radiuses, the width of the road's one thing, but they do have, I agree, a lot of, tight turning radiuses.
Right.
So that's what we're gonna be having
Right.
to look at, and they're gonna have to show they can get the trucks around those tight
And that's gonna drive wider roads.
And it
having the-
potentially could be.
Right, having the turning radius, because some of those are such short turns. If you make those big enough to make your turning radius for a truck, it's gonna make it have to be wider.
Right.
They make wider roads now, and the tractor trailers still can't get around them.
So how do you feel about that, Norm? Okay, let's see, I got turning radius, emergency access, and water, you said water.
Sanitary sewer and public water,
Yep, which the water shouldn't be a problem per se.
just saying.
Right. I think those are the ones that I have, I mean, I can't really make it a condition, but having an alternative access would be, I think, a good thing.
I should point out that public water and sewer is already a condition,
It is.
so you don't have to list that separately, it's in writing right in the
Without a
ordinance.
variance, you wouldn't be able to, if you didn't have it, the project's dead.
Exactly.
That's a specific criteria that they would have to meet.
Okay. Now, are there any other comments from the board? Public? Anybody from the public like to comment on any of these items, topics?
Chuck Aldhauser again, 6829 Spruce, Bath. I guess we have a number of questions. Are there any plans, definite plans related to the forest land that is currently existing? Is that gonna all be removed or just portions of it? And would some of it remain in the buffer area to the north end?
On the,
North end of the boundary, north end?
South.
Pardon me, south end, excuse me, south end.
well, with the buffer area
This area here.
between the Regency, that would involve putting a berm.
Okay.
That's part of the requirements, is you have to have a high berm, and it's gonna be vegetated. It's gotta be screened with trees and.
So what
So
you
the
see
All
with
the
your
existing
development,
vegetation be removed?
so what you see with your current development along 512
Mhm.
and to the south of your Regency, as well as the other, we require 100-foot wide buffer with a 14-foot high variable berm with shrubs and bushes planted. That would be required along any adjacent non-residential area.
So virtually all the existing forest would be removed then for this project,
In that
correct?
area.
Okay,
Yeah. But the berm recognized gives you an immediate buffer,
understand.
depending on how thick the existing vegetation is.
And the rear portion was gonna remain as open space for what.
And did you have any specific plans relative to the type of occupancy that will take place? Will it be rental, or will it be a long-term lease or sale? What's the intent
Tenders for the condos, the condo ownership.
for a condo ownership?
And then the open space land and the parking lots would be under an association.
The north exit that's shown just north of where you have your Steuben Road access, do you have any plans relative to where that would go?
No, that is there in case for future development of that lot on that side. So that was something that was discussed with the planning commission previously, just to make sure that could be extended to provide a connection in the future.
Is there any recreational facilities intended in the common areas, such as pool or playgrounds, anything of that nature? Do you know yet? Is that too early?
It might be too early, but yeah, right now, there's nothing planned. But
And traffic obviously would come through your development assessment, I suppose. Okay.
It would require traffic impact, study,
Understood.
which not only the township, but PennDOT would have
All right,
input into.
thank you.
Good evening, Steve Elsier, 7024 Oak Lane in Bath. Couple questions. The commercial piece of this, how many businesses total? I see 2 medical and a restaurant, and
Right.
so if you were to say how many businesses would that entail? 10, 20, 30?
I guess with the retail, it would be up to who's gonna be moving in. There might be, 4 or 5 in each building, or if one larger one, there might be 1 or 2. That has not been, formalized yet at this point.
So how many total? It could
I mean,
possibly, worst case.
This would be ballpark, but, it could be 10.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't think, the medical office buildings, it could be several different doctors' offices in those. So there could be, or it could be one network that does one buildings themselves,
Okay.
so.
And it's a little hard for me to tell on the plan. It looks like there's a lot of parking. Is there enough parking for these commercial buildings?
Yeah, and this is, and one of the things we did is, it all meets all the zoning requirements for the number of parking spaces, and one of the comments was to make sure, we have enough at each building to address that use. So I think one of the earlier plans, we kind of grouped it all together, but this plan here has parking specific for that use around those individual buildings. So,
Okay.
yeah, so
And maybe consideration for the board. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that housing brings traffic. And high-density housing brings a lot of traffic. So this will totally change the traffic. Steuben on the 512, going north on 512, south on 512, 60 townhomes, potentially 120 more cars using that intersection. And unfortunately, and I don't know, and I guess this would be a PennDOT thing, that's where 512 goes to 2 lanes from 4 lanes. And potential traffic light and all that. So it's just totally going to change the vibe, the environment of that area and the traffic on 512 with that high-density housing. And the only other thing I want to say is I'm somewhat familiar with this concept down in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. They built a town center. I don't know if you've ever been there. And it's a mix like this of townhouses, rental properties. Toll Brothers actually built townhouses in there. There's a lot of commercial buildings, restaurants, shops, things like that. It's a hot mess. I can just tell you, it's a hot mess, getting in and out, parking, the whole bit. It doesn't look like this would be to that extreme, but maybe on a smaller scale. Thank you.
Good evening. Larry Ebley, 6831 Spruce in Bath. The question I had, or the comment or concern, is the traffic as well. If the main entrance off of 512 is a right in, right out, okay, that gets people in or out. And if they are successful in getting the easement to Steuben, then there would definitely need to be a light at Steuben for left-hand turns. And it's already difficult at certain times of the day to make a left out of there, you know, or cut across, or go across. So now if they put a light at their main entrance, that will really impact Steuben even more, because when the light's red, it's going to back up and you'll never be able to make a left out of there. So if they put a light at that intersection, they almost need a light at Steuben as well that are synchronized so that everybody goes at the same time, that type of thing. So traffic sucks right there, if you're familiar with it. And if that should be taken into consideration, you know, the traffic flow very much. And that's all. Thank you.
Well, there will have to be a traffic impact study done, and that will certainly define what requirements will need to be done with regards to lighting and whatnot. I can tell you, they're going to replace the bridge on 512, over the Monocacy Creek. 10,000 vehicles a day use that road.
Yeah.
So anything is going to make it a problem, unless it's properly managed and properly dealt with regards to traffic studies.
And if that warehouse right there at the brick, just past the railroad goes in, worse yet. So, but, yeah, thank you for the consideration on that. There was one other question. Originally in 21, you guys were talking about the 55 plus. Is 55 plus or age limited dead? Or are these gonna be any age group?
These are any age group as far as I know.
Right, that's my understanding. It'll just be, yeah, any age group open to.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Remember, PennDOT determines whether there's traffic lights or not.
Yeah, and the comment I would make is it'd be highly unlikely they would permit one on our entrance, because generally they want to have a certain minimum distance between them. If Steuben gets signalized, which makes more sense because of the Jandal holdings beyond this, that's not going to get a signal because it's way too close. But you're right, that's controlled by PennDOT.
Can I ask one more question then? If that's controlled by PennDOT, would that impact the approval? Or would your final approval have to wait for PennDOT's approval?
You would have to wait for PennDOT's approval because we're accessing PennDOT's road. So without the PennDOT permit necessary to do that.
Well, let me just clarify.
We're not-
To construct it, it could impact it. This municipality is not permitted to deny a land development plan for a PennDOT-related issue, and the MPC is very clear about that. So we can for other issues, but I just wanted to make sure. If, let's assume they satisfy all their other conditions, but they don't have their HOP yet, we cannot deny their plan because they don't have the HOP.
Understood.
Now, to construct it, that's another story. They don't get a CO or they don't get a building permit or anything like that until that permit is issued.
Understood.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that
Okay, I'm glad
everybody
you
was clear on
clarified
that.
that, Joe. There's some fairly recent legislation.
Yes.
Case law on that, yeah. I
Like
forgot
recent
about
case
that.
law, yep.
I've been around too long.
Me too. Trust me.
Now, the only other question I have, is that strip of land that's owned by Regency on the north side of Steuben. Right? Did you say that that gets dedicated?
So when the property was subdivided as part of the minor subdivision before the major was done, they carved out everything that would be sold to Toll Brothers.
Yep.
As part of that, Toll Brothers has carved out and then transferred, not fully yet, I don't believe, to the HOA for dedication, but it comes up as a parcel owned by the HOA for common space.
Right.
But it ultimately is part of the dedication of right-of-way. Now, we have deed of dedications for every road, every open common area, everything is part of this development. The only thing we have accepted is the easement for the pump station
Right.
and a landscape buffer
Right.
that is along that pump station that basically is to be maintained by the HOA.
So-
Other than that, but
Yeah, so what
that
Brent's saying is that
access-
once the deed of dedication is accepted and filed at the courthouse, the county's gonna revise its records to indicate that that strip is now a public road.
Correct, and then the deed the parcel would go away. But the township has full access and rights to that parcel of land through the current dedication. We have just not formally accepted it. The area between that parcel is an easement that is depicted on a plan, but was not formally offered for dedication to the township,
Which
and
is-
there is no description or plot plan that shows
And that's
it.
gonna be a private dispute between the landowners.
Yes.
Correct.
Not gonna be
Right,
anything
so
that
that's
we-
another condition that needs to be on there. Condition is, you gotta have access through there.
Well,
but
they're
but
gonna
you're
have to have
already
access
indicating
either
that-
way.
They could get access, secondary access out to 512, similar to what the development to the south did, where there's another
The access issue is
No,
gonna be
no,
up
no.
to PennDOT.
No, what I'm saying is, emergency vehicle access can come off of that 512, that's not that's understood. But they can't build this without having another access for vehicles coming into this into this property. In other words, that access that goes out to Steuben, if that's not there, I would never approve this thing to be built. That would be ludicrous, that's insane, because you gotta have two access routes in and out of it.
Well, I understand, so let me ask a question. If that came down and took a hard right, as we're sitting, out to 512 on their property before that buffer, let's say, they made a secondary entrance to 512, just like Regency at Creekside has.
So, because.
Would that not satisfy that?
Because of the classification of roadway, it would be extremely difficult to get access.
HOAs from
So,
PennDOT, that'll be two HOAs
if you
for
wanna
that area, and it won't happen.
impose a condition, you could say that the developer would make a reasonable effort or some sort of tangible effort, but I don't know if I would fully condition it because I don't know how realistic it is. I mean, this has been an issue since 2014 and it has not changed, and that's why it's only shown on a plan and nothing has been offered. Now, I don't know if any conversations has been made, but in some municipalities, when you want something done like a turn lane, you make them show a reasonable effort that the board can quantify and say, okay, they've sent so many letters, they've offered this amount, they're paying for the improvements, and the owner still will not comply, because you're holding them to a standard for an improvement off-site that they probably cannot control in any way. So it's a reasonable thing, but to hold up the whole conditional use, I don't know. Basically what PennDOT has done too, and I think to kind of explain the 512 corridor, they really don't want to see any more access points on 512 other than Steuben.
Right.
So this may very well be the principal access point as part of the land development plans. And what they show may be just an auxiliary, and it may not be a formal entrance like it is today.
So when the applicant appears before the Board of Supervisors, that is a public meeting. And all of the evidence and documentation that is submitted at that conditional use hearing becomes part of the record. If that is the plan that is submitted as part of the record for the conditional use approval, then that developer must provide that access. If they do not, then they haven't complied with the the plans that were approved for the conditional use approval. And it's also gonna go through land development approval. So I guess the point I'm saying is you certainly have all the right in the world to make it a specific condition if you want to, but at the end of the day, if that's the plan that's submitted to the Board of Supervisors, that's the plan they have to build, or they have to come back for additional approvals. Because conditional, it's a formal hearing, and it's based on the evidence in the record that's created at that hearing and the plans that are submitted to you and the Board of Supervisors.
And to be honest with you, we're hoping between the township and PennDOT, we can bring a certain amount of pressure to implement what was originally the concept when that was first approved. Because that concept was to have a continuous parallel road, which PennDOT would like to see, and I suspect the township would like to see. The only problem is that dedication of that strip never occurred. So it's now in the control of a private property owner, but I understand what Joe's saying. And as a practical matter, I think the reasonable development of the property makes sense to connect to Steuben, because that's logically where a traffic signal should be located.
Sure, of course.
And
And
it's
to
yeah.
my point earlier, which is there should be another one out of there on the Steuben as well, but that's beside the point.
Well, that one would be further, there's another, I can't remember the name, but if you go far
No,
enough north, across.
I'm talking south, but
No,
that's
but to the
okay.
north, there's another public road
Yeah,
that goes across.
I know there is, but you're never
That
gonna
would
get
be the
there
other
from
traffic
there.
signal.
Had we not
But doesn't matter.
dragged our feet,
All right.
Bright Farms, we probably would
So-
have done that. Lucas
So-
Road redone.
What I'm taking from that is to list ad developer making reasonable effort to provide provide primary access to the site from Steuben.
Yeah.
So,
Make the
That's-
effort, that's
That's
fine.
adequate.
All right,
is that,
That's adequate.
you wanna make a motion?
sure, why not?
So the motion would be to grant recommendation of the conditional use based on the testimony presented today
Yep.
and meeting
The
the
following.
fire department's emergency access and maneuverability,
Yep.
providing the buffer yard along all residential and non-residential areas of the development, road widening as necessary through the development
Yep.
to accommodate reasonable maneuverability and access,
Yep.
and sanitary sewer connection and primary access shall be sought for the development through Steuben Road.
A developer will make a reasonable effort to
Yeah.
make that happen.
So the buffer yard would only be along the northern property line within the commercial.
Commercial area, right.
Just on the commercial,
Right.
Yeah, as is in our ordinance for potential residential use in a PC2.
Yeah.
So that's the motion.
Let me just make sure I didn't miss any. Yep.
And also, I did note, they should pay special attention to traffic increases at Steuben and 512. That's a PennDOT thing, so
That'll be part of
we
the
don't need to
traffic.
have that.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Marty. Do we have a second? Pardon?
I'll second.
We have a second by Tom. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chamberlain?
Yes?
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Hemming?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes. Let the record reflect the motion passed, 5 votes to none.
She's making sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
All right. Moving on to business being carried. Sheila Gibb, minor subdivision, plan expires 3/31/2026. No action is required.
Yeah, it wasn't me today, I think we're good, I just need the security, what you said was being fed out. But yeah.
We're interrupting the
Yeah,
meeting.
If you can just tell me when anything's delivered.
Are you finished, Brett?
Quite done?
Okay. Just making sure. All right. The next item is East Allen Convenience Store and Fueling at 6500 Hanoverville Road, plan, saldo 2025-006. Plan expires 5/31/26. No action required by the board. The next item is 6780 Jacksonville Road, minor subdivision, saldo 2025-005. Plan expires 2/28/26. No action is required by the board. Next item is Knollwood Major Subdivision Preliminary Plan, saldo 2023-000. Plan expires 3/31/2026. No actions required. Next item is 6893 Steuben Road Lot Line Adjustment, saldo 2024-005. Plan expires January 31st, 2026. No action required. And finally, 6821 Steuben Road Minor Subdivision, saldo 2025-003. Plan expires January 31st, 2026. No action required by the board. Any discussions, any comments? Did we need to talk about the January meeting?
It's the 15th.
Yeah, so the meeting will be the 15th of January instead of your normal, because of the holiday, being the first Thursday.
Right, and we need to get new calendars.
Only question that would be for your board, do you want to consider, there was previous discussion about moving it sooner than 7, like moving to 6:30?
Oh,
So this probably would be the time before we advertise.
that's a good question. We talked about having it potentially earlier. Joe, Jill, feel free to chime in.
Good either way.
If you do it during
We
happy
serve at the
hour,
pleasure
we
of the
would be
board.
ecstatic. Ooh.
Maybe we finally get Jim to get us next door.
Yeah, I'll vote no on it then. I can't be trusted.
6:30, is that, you guys want to?
It just was a thought for it
Yeah,
that,
well, yeah, we talked about it before, specifically for
About it
Tom.
before. I don't like it.
Well, that would
I
be,
don't like it, but I'll go along with it.
okay. So we have one maybe.
I just may not be here all the time.
How about 6:45?
Do we want to change it? All in favor of 6:30, say aye.
Aye.
Sounds like 7 o'clock it is.
Oh, well.
All right.
Brent, why is our meeting not the 8th?
because we have a supervisors meeting that night. Potentially, if we have the second Tuesday, or second Thursday.
Okay, so planning's on the 15th.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you good for that date? We might not have anything.
A twice continued zoning meeting in Allen Township, specifically picked that day, the 15th of January, because I had no East Allen meetings.
Well, next week we'll know if we have any submissions.
Yeah, that's not a problem, we'll figure it out one way or the other, always.
So you're saying we could move it to the 8th?
No,
No.
because the supervisors are the 8th.
Oh, I thought you were saying
No.
that they might not.
We may not have a
Well, they may
January-
not have a
we may
meeting,
not
but.
have- and we may
Oh,
not
okay,
have a meeting.
all right, all right.
Frankly, I'm okay with January 1st.
That's
Probably the minority.
I have no problem with that either. All right.
Brent brings the Alka-Seltzer.
Kratz was right.
Any questions or comments from the public? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have to do everything?
No, I move we adjourn.
We have a motion on the floor to adjourn. We have multiple seconds. Norm seconded. Norm seconded first. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The record reflect the motion passed, 5 votes to none.
I think there was a three-way tie on the second.
Not that anyone's